Yield 3 minutes to my friend from Georgia, Mr. Andrew Clyde. 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Republicans have a once-in-a-decade opportunity to deliver real conservative change in Washington. This Congress has laid out bold priorities for President Trump's one big, beautiful bill, including tax relief for working families and small businesses, major investments in border security, strengthening our military, unleashing American energy, reforming federal health programs to protect the most vulnerable, and restoring Second Amendment rights. We're also committed to ensuring the final package is fiscally responsible, right-sizing government, and putting our fiscal future back on track. Unfortunately, the current version falls short of these goals and fails to deliver the transformative change that Americans were promised. Substantive improvements are needed, and I look forward to working with this committee and our House Republican Conference to make sure we deliver. As an ardent Second Amendment defender, I've always promised to defend my constituents' Second Amendment rights. Today, excise taxes, specifically transfer and making taxes, are imposed on every firearm regulated under the National Firearms Act of 1934. As Chief Justice John Marshall warned in 1819, the power to tax involves the power to destroy, and he was absolutely right. These taxes have enabled unconstitutional regulation and registration under the National Firearms Act, exemplified by the Biden administration's dangerous pistol brace rule, which turned millions of law-abiding gun owners, many of them veterans, into felons overnight. The House now has a historic opportunity to repeal the burdensome taxation, registration, and regulation of short-barreled firearms, both rifles and shotguns, and suppressors under the National Firearms Act. The American people are watching. It is time to deliver. Additionally, House Republicans must put Medicaid on a sustainable path by refocusing the program on the truly vulnerable: single mothers, pregnant women, disabled Americans, children, and the elderly. Yet taxpayers in non-expansion states, like my constituents in Northeast Georgia, are unfairly footing the bill for excessive Medicaid spending in blue states. Currently, the federal government matches $1.33 for every $1 that states spend for these core vulnerable populations. But under Obamacare's Medicaid expansion, the federal government pays $9 for every $1 spent on largely able-bodied, working-aged adults that simply will not work. That's unacceptable. It's time Republicans prioritize Medicaid for the vulnerable over the able-bodied. Unfortunately, the current reconciliation package fails to reverse this misguided funding scheme that undermines care for the most vulnerable, the very people Medicaid was originally intended to help. For these reasons, I am unable to support this package in its current form, but I look forward to strengthening this bill to ensure that it does pass so that we fulfill all of our America First promises to the American people. Thank you, and I yield back.
Mr. Josh Brecheen from Oklahoma, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Look, apart from being someone that represents Christ in the way that I operate in this building and being a good husband and a great father to my children, something stands out to me more so than anything else in the way that I conduct my life. It is to be a person of truth. And I think as some of us are having real consternations this morning because of feeling like that there is truth on both sides, we had a blueprint, but there's also truth in the fact that $50 billion was added that is not a part of the blueprint. And so was the instructions fully met? It's truth that that element is lacking, and that has to be reconciled, not in truth with what the blueprint laid out. The second part, to be a person of truth, has to be the scores. And when you look at, because that's the decision before us today, are we, as people of truth, do these scores pan out? And what I saw happen in Oklahoma in my time in the state legislative body, trying to repeal wind tax credits, 60 lobbyists from other countries, Italy, Spain involved, diverged on the Capitol, and it took from the 90s, as Governor Keating discussed in the 2018 era when we were trying to repeal these, it was never intended to last as long as it did. And it was always the promise to end many years from now, which never materialized. And so when we've got a measure that says start date for ending is 4 years from now, and we also have elements of this as it currently stands that says you can enter a project in 2031 as a wind production entity and still be receiving taxpayer subsidies by 2040, to be a person of truth, I know what's going to happen. I know there are going to be lobbyists that are going to descend on this building. We'll get the savings up front. And years from now, when President Trump, who rightfully so is a champion for Indian, as he calls it, the Green New Scam, is no longer in office, this is designed, I'm sorry, but I think it's purposely designed. And I'm not challenging anybody's character. I am grateful to a speaker. I am grateful to a chairman of this committee. I am grateful to a leader that's engaging with us right now to try to figure this stuff out, to get to the truth. But I just want for my committee members to know my consternation, because as Patrick Henry once said, I have but one lamp by which my feet are guided. It's the lamp of experience. I know no other way to foretell the future than by the past. And until we get these timelines corrected, to where it's a true repeal of wind and solar that is undermining our electric grid, 60% of all new generation in the last 2 years, according to the Energy Information Administration, is wind and solar. So, and the super majority of components on solar, it's 61% of it's solar, and the super majority of those components are coming from China, undermining natural gas jobs all over this country. We have to fix this. I appreciate a chairman, speaker, and a leader right now as we're even talking, trying to figure this out so I can be a person of truth. Thank you. I yield.
I thank the gentleman from Oklahoma, who is indeed a person of truth. Now yield 3 minutes to the pride of the Palmetto State, Mr. Ralph Norman.
Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you for the job you've done on the Budget Committee. You've held fast. You've kept this committee going, and I just want to thank you and give you the credit for it. Great leadership. To my left, for my friends on the left, let me classify it this way. You're being untruthful. You can say however you want to say, but to say we're cutting Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security is simply untruthful. You cannot cut Social Security anyway. And, you know, what this boils down to is a complete, we're operating on two different universes. You think the tax money is yours, government is your God, and that's what your bottom line that you have. You supported an administration and Joe Biden that train wrecked this country by letting 15 to 20 million illegals in this country, where we have paid a price and are continuing to pay a price. Now, where are we on this bill? The tax cuts are great. The tax money is the taxpayers, not the government bureaucracy. And what we're dealing with now is so many good things that are happening. You can use class warfare, rich, poor, black, white. You're off base. 77 million people told you were off base, and you're still off base. But here's the questions I would ask, and Mr. Chairman, I know you know this. Is it right for healthy, able-bodied Americans that could work, that don't work? It's over 25 million healthy, able-bodied Americans that don't work. Is it right for them to have a paycheck? I don't think so. Is it right if you're an illegal alien, which the right side of this aisle, my Democrat friends led in this country, if you're an illegal, is it right to have illegals cashing checks with money we don't have? And to phase this in for 4 years, we're telling a healthy body, healthy American that you got 4 years to get a job? No, the payment stops now. If you're an illegal, the payment stops now. On the IRA, a lot of these credits have been in existence for 30 and 40 years. And you're talking about giveaways. We want to help those who really need help. And that's what we are. That's the heart of this. Sadly, I'm a hard no until we get this ironed out. And I think we can. We made progress, but it just takes time. And it's time that if we're going to continue to have just what I mentioned, able-bodied Americans getting checks, illegals getting checks, subsidies that go to corporations that shouldn't get them, I'm out. So thank you Mr. Chairman, again, for what you've done, and thank you for this Budget Committee. I yield.
Now yield 3 minutes to my friend and fellow Texan who's done a fantastic job, played a key role in fashioning the initial framework we call the budget resolution, and I want to thank him for his service and his friendship. Mr. Chip Roy, 3 minutes.
I appreciate my friend from Texas, the chairman, and there my Democratic colleagues go again, telling things that are not true. The vast majority of Americans will get tax benefits under this bill. It's just simply false to say that that's not true. Hardworking Americans who will benefit from the standard deduction increase. Hardworking Americans that will benefit from child tax credits and lower tax rates. Stop saying things that aren't true. Those things are true. The fact is we have money in here for border to undo the damage of Joe Biden. We have more money in here for the defense to undo the damage of Joe Biden. But we also address Medicaid, and Medicaid spending goes up. Stop lying. Medicaid spending goes up. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle are profoundly unserious when it comes to being real about what's happening with the numbers. I applaud Chairman Arrington. I applaud my colleagues on this side of the aisle for taking a step forward in dealing with the spending problem in this town. But I have to now admonish my colleagues on this side of the aisle. This bill falls profoundly short. It does not do what we say it does with respect to deficits. The fact of the matter is, on the spending, what we're dealing with here on tax cuts and spending, a massive front-loaded deficit increase. That's the truth. That's the truth. Deficits will go up in the first half of the 10-year budget window, and we all know it's true. And we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't say that we're doing something we're not doing. The fact of the matter is, this bill has backloaded savings and has front-loaded spending. Nowhere near the Senate budget top line, by the way. The Senate budget top line of $6.5 trillion, which, by the way, is what we were pre-COVID, inflation adjusted on interest, on Medicaid, on Medicare and Social Security. And if we would reform Medicaid, we could actually get to the core of the problem. But we refuse to do it. And I'm not going to sit here and say that everything is hunky-dory when this is the budget committee. This is the budget committee. We are supposed to do something to actually result in balanced budgets. But we're not doing it. Look at what happens under deficits. By the way, this chart includes growth. This chart demonstrates economic growth. And right here, what do you see? Baseline, and the orange columns are the deficits under the House budget, assuming growth. Only in Washington are we expected to bet on the come that in 5 years, then everything will work. Then we will solve the problem. We have got to change the direction of this town. And to my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, yes, that means touching Medicaid. It went from $400 billion in 2019 to $600 billion this year. It'll be over $1 trillion in the 2030s. We are making promises that we cannot keep. We do need to reform it. We need to stop giving 7 times as much money to the able-bodied over the vulnerable. Why are we sticking it to the vulnerable population, the disabled and the sick, to give money to single able-bodied male adults? We shouldn't do that. We should reform it. But guess what? That message needs to be delivered to my colleagues on this side of the aisle too. We are writing checks we cannot cash, and our children are going to pay the price. So I am a no on this bill unless serious reforms are made today, tomorrow, Sunday. We're having conversations as we speak, but something needs to change, or you're not going to get my support. I yield back.
We've done a pretty good job of conducting ourselves professionally. So if you got sidebar comments, either side, use your 3 minutes to sound off, okay?
Mr. Chair, we're not allowed to use the word lying about one another either, so that decorum should go both ways.
Well, I'd encourage people not to say that. Everybody's got to be responsible for the things that they say in this committee. But I also associate myself with Mr. Chip Roy. A whole lot of work is still left undone, and I look forward to joining him and making sure that we strengthen many of these spending reform measures before the ink dries. But with that,